Welcome to Heroes 3 Gaiden. 3 is not the end. We're coming back because, as you guys might have known through the social media, things are a little weird in Heroes 3 HQ right now, but that's not going to stop me from getting a few friends to come on to talk about some weird-ass Asian cinema. So, this week I am joined by, first, Jennifer Hawking, which we haven't had her on in a long time. I think she was the wrong gender last time we had her on. So, I'm glad that she's able to join. Jen from the Swim Fans podcast.
I'm Jennifer. Sorry, I was really excited to do the intro, but we ended up not doing it, so I'm doing it here. No, it's all good.
Okay,
it's all good. It's
anyway.
probably better
like
this way.
And then we have our past guest and Japanese cinema, I would say expert, and that is Joey.
Hello.
Welcome back to the show, Joey.
I'm Joey.
And this week,
Use the voice.
I'll just poorly edit that at the beginning and just pretend. This week we are diving into a movie that's definitely not as much in our wheelhouse. It's a little more exploitation-y than we tend to go, and that is the 1974 Japanese film School of the Holy Beast, sometimes called The Transgressor or Convent of the Sacred Beast. And it is directed by Norifumi Suzuki, put out by Toei. It's one of their pink films, and it's pretty fun. It's got some weird, real kind of creepy stuff in it. I enjoyed it, but this was the two of you were familiar with it beforehand. I didn't know if one of y'all wanted to take away what your history with the movie is.
So I've not seen this movie before, but I have seen the director's other film, Terrifying Girls High School Lynch Law Classroom, and immediately after watching that, I added like a bunch of his movies to like my watch list, and then this was one of them. I think this is the more popular one, but that movie is so fucking crazy, and I was so happy when 10 minutes into this movie, this is a woman like self-flagellating at like 3 a.m. in the fucking convent, and I was like, we're so back. This is great. This is exactly what I want from this guy. So I'm very thrilled with this movie.
Awesome. And Joe, I could get over to you.
Yeah,
you were very familiar with this director.
I had seen this movie once before, maybe quite a while ago, maybe like 10 or 12 years ago. And yeah, I'm a big fan of Norifumi Suzuki, particularly his Truck Rascals series, a 10-film trucker, like lowbrow trucker comedy action series. And yeah, I think I came across this when I was first kind of doing a real deep dive into Japanese film, maybe 15-ish years ago. And it's just a title that comes up a lot, especially when I, was into Suzuki's other work, and this one I think has quite a reputation for being pretty outrageous and particularly kind of like interesting to, I think, a Western audience because it's centered around Catholicism, sort of, nuns and whatnot. And
it is definitely centered around nuns. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Catholicism is in quotes. It's about Catholicism in the way that Dragon Ball Z is about doing martial arts.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I it's pretty cool. I think that I've what can I say about this? Pink film isn't my particular area of expertise, if you were to call me a Japanese film expert, but I've seen a handful of stuff, especially since I like Suzuki and he works in this genre quite a lot. And I like things when they're maybe a little more playful, like there's like Hot Springs Geisha movies and things like that are a little more fun. And I get a little, hold your applause, everyone, but I get a little squeamish when it comes to sexual violence. So, it just like
a true ally.
Yeah.
Not me, baby. I live in this particular zone.
But, some of these movies get pretty rough, but I think that this one, honestly, like coming back to it after so many years is on the lighter side of things. So
I was gonna say it definitely was. I thought it was gonna get a lot worse than it did. So
Yeah.
disappointed is not the right word because I don't want to see it get too extreme. But I was preparing myself for a lot worse than you get in this. Plenty of weird shit. Don't get me wrong, but
I liked it quite a bit this time around.
Yeah, I guess I could do just kind of the brief kind of summary of the movie is that it follows a woman named Maya Takigawa, who's played by Yumi Takigawa, which I found this out. The version that I watched was I think it either was the DVD or it was a Blu-ray that had the DVD extras in it that were recorded in 2005. And there's an interview with her. And Yumi Takigawa is actually a stage name, which is not in her Wikipedia, which is hilarious.
Huh.
But it's a stage name.
Yeah, all right.
That
makes sense.
And it comes
given
from
the content.
It comes from this movie because her character is Takigawa. So, anyways, she plays this woman Maya, who is kind of joins a convent to figure out what happened to her mother, who was killed years earlier. And she goes through all these like crazy kind of tortures and these very strict nuns. She finds all these dark secrets, like these two nuns that are in love with each other and people being tortured in lots of different ways, lots of excuses for women to get naked and hurt each other, classic pink film stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it kind of comes to a head near the end where we find out that this evil father who's been throughout the movie, we've seen a little bit of him doing some really nasty stuff. Turns out that he is her father, and is in kind of cahoots with the head sister at the abbey. And she's able to kind of get her revenge on the two of them in a really, really bizarre way. But then the movie kind of just is over. And we see that she's just in the normal world again, which cracked me up.
Yeah, a real abrupt ending.
Yeah.
It's kind of
although I was totally expecting it to be a like main bad guy's dead freeze frame kung fu cinema thing, but you do get like a little bit of her just kind of living a normal life, and then it's over.
There's 5 seconds of, oh no, she got out, she's fine, and then it ends, which is a lot more resolution than you would normally get.
Totally.
Yeah, on the subject of Yumi Takigawa, since you mentioned her, apparently the deal is like, at least as I was reading a little bit today, like this movie didn't do particularly well at the time and kind of faded into obscurity, but Takigawa became a big star in the 80s and kind of had a big music career, and looks like she was in those Onihei detective movies, probably on TV as well, I would guess, these kind of like old-timey Japan detective movies. And apparently because this was her first role and she's nude in it a lot, it kind of resurfaced as this like cult thing.
Yeah, that was in the interview in the extra. She talks about how basically she was kind of strong-armed into doing this, and that the director was very persuasive in getting her to do it, and like she didn't want to do nude scenes, and she never did a nude scene after this movie. But she actually didn't realize just how like erotic the movie was until she watched a screening of it and was like, "Oh wow, it's that kind of movie."
That's probably a horrifying realization to have.
Yeah, she said one thing specific was I was shocked to see myself tied up in brambles. But she said she's like was from then on was a lot more careful with her choices, and her mom was really involved with her film career from then on out to make sure that like they read the scripts well and made sure that everything passed muster and stuff.
Oh, interesting. Yeah.
And my favorite bit though was at the very end of it. She says, "I don't get why this is the movie getting a DVD release."
Yeah, you hear that a lot from like Meiko Kaji as well. Like I think a lot of those people are like, "That's the one that you want to put out." Or, these kind of trashy movies I did when I was a kid. But
yeah.
Well, so does she have like no reverence for it at all? Because she took her stage name from it.
She said, like, basically, I'm grateful for it because it is what gave me a career as an actress. But definitely like she's, wasn't super comfortable with the with like the level of kind of exploitation in it. So I think she said, kind of mixed feelings about it.
Yeah.
She did say that she kind of buried the hatchet with Norifumi Suzuki and that they were friends again. So
that's good to hear.
But she specifically said that the set was tense sometimes.
Yeah.
So I can see that.
Yeah, given what they had to film,
translates to the film.
Yeah.
But yeah, why don't I talk about some of the highlights of the movie? I love that one nun that's like the bad girl nun that kind of doesn't want to be there.
Yeah,
and I'm not completely sure why she's there 100%. That just like one of the first things she does is goes up to Maya and it's like, "Hey, I think you have a problem with authority too. You want a drink?"
Yeah. That's the woman who's like, yeah, only like society dropouts become nuns, and like which is very strange because it feels like that wouldn't be the case at all. That there would be
it's like military
many
school
other
or something.
Yeah. Or like the school in Terrifying Girls High School lynch law classroom.
There you go.
But it's
he might have a type.
But it's a great kind of setup for the movie because part of me was just wondering like, how is this gonna get that weird? And then that was the door that is opened to getting really weird.
Yeah, and the kind of deeper you get into the culture there, it's like, yeah, they're tying them up with rose thorns, and this is a convent with a trap door and an acid vat in it. So it's like there is weird
Oh my
stuff
god, that was so funny.
That ruled.
I thought she was coming with the Joker.
It took me a while to realize that it was an acid vat because, like, why? Why would you just keep that around?
The ultimate flagellation. Yeah, I don't know. The rose thorns scene in particular, like, highlights one of the things is that this movie like looks really great. I think this is where I connect with it the most, is just kind of like on an aesthetics level. There's a lot of like really beautiful scenes, and that like having her tied up in rose thorns and then like beating her with like bouquets of roses and having
like bouquets of flowers,
petals flying everywhere, and it's just so like evocative and like great imagery, even if it's kind of nonsensical.
Yeah, it kind of gives like a surreal quality to all of it.
That scene's really well edited too, because there's a lot of like juxtaposing like spinning cameras and like the nuns all kind of like slapping down with like her in slow motion as this like torrent of like rose petals sort of like swirls around her. It's very like manga-y in how like expressionistic it is. But like they ground it in like a really cool way. It's lit really well.
I love that the camera literally goes like upside down at some points, and it's sideways, and it's definitely being very creative with its placement.
Yeah, I feel like the movie really comes alive during the torture scenes. Like
yeah,
I mean, just
like it feels like that's where the guy wanted to really
that's where the juice is
with the weirdness. That's where the juice is. Yeah,
that's where like the very Catholic juice is like strict nuns punishing women. Like that's the reason you make a movie like this.
Yeah. The ridiculously elaborate and absurd, but like kind of perverse, very perverse, like torture of like making this girl drink as much water as possible and then telling her not to pee on this image of Christ.
This image of Jesus,
It's so like so strange, but like kind of ingenious, and like and then it like can lead to this very kind of glorious dramatic moment at the end when she finally lets go, and then she dies, and so the blood mixes with the urine, and it's very like gross but also kind of beautiful in a way.
I think that was the most like explicitly perverted part of the movie. That was the part like the feeling of watching that is like the feeling of watching all of Terrifying Girls high school lynch law classroom. Like there's just like the overwhelming sense that like this is just someone's like sexual fantasy on screen.
Yeah.
And like it's
Yeah.
clearly what a lot of the torture scenes in this are, but they have a lot more like they're a lot more kind of artistically executed. Like they're very clearly like bondagey and stuff, but like you can kind of see like when the woman's like flagellating herself, like it's extremely dramatic too. Like but like that one is just like, oh no, this is pornography. This is we've crossed the line.
That's the real freak shit.
Yeah. There's no you can't convince me otherwise with this one. And the other ones you could do the thing where it's like, oh yeah, it's pretty intense, but they really kind of did something. And like the pissing part is like, no, this is a sex thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This could only be a sex thing.
Mm-hmm. Apparently, I couldn't find a source for this, but both in the text of the movie and in one of the other DVD feature, they made it sound like the trying to get someone to not pee on an image of Jesus was like an actual thing that happened at some point in like the Edo period. Because there's a lot of stories of like Edo period like weird tortures and stuff, especially towards Christians in Japan.
Yeah.
I couldn't find that one specifically, but I did find plenty of people getting like horribly impaled and sawed alive and boiled and other nasty stuff.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of depictions of where, like, in order to prove you're not a Christian, you stamp on a picture of Jesus or a crucifix or something like that, like step on it with your foot.
Yeah.
Not, and so this seems like maybe an extraction from that.
Yeah. Because I think that happens in my only experience with this is the Martin Scorsese movie Silence. Like I think that is a part of it. Is like stepping on an image of Jesus. But like here, like this was 1 year after Lynch Law Classroom, and like that exact scene happens in that one as well.
It's so good. Why contain it to one movie?
Success, right?
This is what they're coming to the theater for. Yeah.
That's what the people want to see.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that I like about Norifumi Suzuki is that he has like a very like childish but like goofy sense of humor too. This one like doesn't quite have as much of that, but there is, in a kind of twisted sense, there's that horny nun who like takes the porn for herself at that one point. And when it's just her by herself, it's very funny. I love seeing her kind of like open up the drawer and look at it and be like, no. And then eventually kind of
like, oh, this is so horrible while looking at it.
Yeah.
Very funny.
And then it kind of like culminates with those two guys that dress up as nuns that come in and have their way with her or whatever. And it's kind of like a little of that, like, does she like it? Does she not like it stuff? But I love that when they lift the blanket off of her, she's like clutching those photos to her chest. She's like sleeping with them. This one's like, on the heavier side of Suzuki's stuff, but he can't help but have like stupid humor thrown in. And I think that's just a little bit of it that you get in this movie.
There's several scenes in the movie that kind of feel like, I don't know, I don't 100% get where they're going or what they're going for, but I think a lot of it really is just, I don't know, he had an idea for something and wanted to shoot, like whenever we see like the backstory for Maya's mother, it's introduced not 100% knowing who it's talking about, and you just see this pregnant nun getting doused with water and getting stepped on. And when I saw it, I was like, wait, what's this? And then it's like, oh, okay. This is plot important.
Yeah, that backstory like really reminds me of Lady Snowblood, which came later than this, but it's like this idea of this kind of baby who's born for revenge, like right?
Yeah,
As soon as you're born, like revenge is almost baked into your DNA, you know. And the tragic, you know, your mother dies, and this one it's like really over the top, where basically she's born as her mother has already died, and it makes this like it gives it this kind of operatic status, you know, where it's like as dramatic as it can possibly be.
Mm-hmm.
The music's really great.
Yeah. Oh yeah, yeah.
It's Masao Yagi, who did like the score for The Great Chase and Abashiri Prison and Terrifying Girls High School Lynch Law Classroom. So this one's like really heavy on the harpsichord. I love a harpsichord.
I feel like every 70s Japanese movie that I've watched just has the best music. Like it's always just this incredible like mixture of, you know, sometimes you get like orchestra, sometimes you get real weird synthesizers and stuff, and it's all in the service of a, you know, a movie about nuns torturing people.
Yeah, for sure. But yeah, like I was saying, I think it kind of like matches that sort of like airy, ethereal like quality that some of the scenes have, like when those two nuns are like making out in the greenhouse or whatever. It has all this kind of like soft focus and greenery all around, and it's like very beautiful, you know, in a way, even though you're supposed to kind of be excited by how depraved it is that two ladies would kiss each other, but you know,
how dare they?
Couldn't imagine.
That's an amazing thing that Yumi Takigawa says in the interview, is that she had literally never seen that before. She had never seen two girls kissing before, and whenever she saw that in the screening, she was like, "Oh, wow." I love the idea of someone being very sheltered and then starring in this movie.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess she wouldn't have been present for that scene in specific. Well, doesn't she show up at the end?
Yeah.
I don't know. Yeah.
She does, but it's after
she shows up at the end, but it's that they didn't actually shoot that right before. It's just her walking in on them, and she didn't really know what she was walking in on.
That makes sense.
Yeah, she wasn't there when they shot all of the finger crotch licking that goes on in that scene.
The extremely subtle finger crotch licking. Yeah.
It's really up to interpretation what that could represent.
Well,
calling it suggestive is not enough.
Yeah.
No, they literally just transpose one act onto another part of the body.
Yeah. Which that's another thing in the other interview in the DVD is that very specifically pubic hair wasn't allowed to be shown in Japanese movies in the 70s. So that's why you get stuff like that, and you get, you know, lots of shots where like they'll take off all of their clothes, but then whenever it pans down, they turn around so you just see their butt instead of their front. Yeah. Which it's so funny to me, being like, oh, that's a bridge too far.
God forbid.
Yeah, a movie that's really a stretch to see how they have to kind of like cut around that is Sex and Fury. If either of you have seen that has a like completely nude fight scene. So there's a lot of like fight choreography as she's like cutting down an entire gang at their headquarters, but she's totally naked, and they definitely. You have to marvel at how they're able to do that without actually showing her, you know, pubic hair at all.
Amazing.
It's a feat of editing.
So that actually, I think that can take us to the ending of the movie, where the Maya has kind of a final confrontation with this head nun, and she's trying to poison Maya. But Maya's broken out of her bonds, and she swings, like they're in a bell tower, and she swings on the rope that's attached to the bell and kicks her out a window. That cracked me up.
That was an amazing shot.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And she gets impaled on the ground.
That
floor,
was
of
an
course.
amazing shot. I don't know if I've ever seen a person impaled on a fence rendered so lovingly before. I've seen it before,
Yeah.
but I'm not. This might be the best one.
Mm-hmm.
And the line, "Have a nice Christmas night." Before
Yeah,
Yeah.
School of the Holy Beast is a Christmas movie.
yeah.
It's so yeah. This is a Christmas movie, totally. It's so beautiful in these final scenes because it's nighttime, it's snowing, and they're like the nuns are all walking around with like a bunch of candles and these crosses and stuff. Again, all in service for this brutal killing, and then last second incest. Because why not?
Yeah.
Hadn't checked that one off the list yet. So.
Where
Just throw that in the pile.
Yep. Which I was totally expecting it to be like this corrupt father was going to like go to sleep with the head nun, but then it turns out it's the daughter, and she rolls over and stabs him or whatever. I wasn't expecting that they were actually going to do it first. And then he's like, "Wait a minute, who are you?" Wait just a darn second.
Tricking him into committing this great sin, but she's also, subjecting herself to it as well.
Yeah. Owned.
If anything, she's almost more guilty of it because, like, he at least doesn't know.
Yeah,
she totally
true.
knows.
Yeah, that's Revenge of the Nerds, really.
Yeah.
The Revenge of the Nerds defense. It does not hold up in court.
Mike, I don't know. You might still get into heaven with that one, though.
That's true. In God's eyes, it's different. But then it ends with the father is like realizing just how how horrible this is, and then gets stabbed, and it's kind of shown to make it seem like it's like the ghost of the mother, right?
Yeah,
that's stabbing her. That's how I interpreted it.
Yeah.
And of course, is stabbing him with a crucifix because you gotta. And that's those. I love all the shots there of like him falling and like the dramatic lighting on the mother ghost with like the horrible scarring on the face and stuff.
Yeah, the priest himself is such a like visually striking character too. He's got this long hair and big beard and stuff. So yeah, it makes anytime he's on screen, he has a lot of presence.
Oh yeah, and also he has scarring on his back from radiation because he was in Nagasaki.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about that. Yeah.
That was a wild detail.
Yeah, you kind of never know when World War II is going to pop up in these movies.
Yeah.
It's interesting. It's
I think it's
kinda
actual photos.
Yes.
That was maybe less than cool, if I'm being completely honest. I don't think you need to show photos of people who actually died in your nunsploitation film.
Yeah, for this movie. It's a weird thing where it's like, is this an example of the creators like reaching for something higher than what this is, or is it just kind of like an opportunity to work something out within themselves, or is this just like padding to fill time? It's a hard thing to kind of wrap.
Well, he's definitely working something out because there is a lot of talk in it about religion and about like God and the nature of religion in people's lives. Which is wild to hear in School of the Holy Beast, but actually that's another. This is probably the last thing I'll mention about from these interviews. One of the people they talked to was a film critic who talked about how essentially like you could make this movie and it be about like Buddhist nuns and like Buddhism is the kind of central thing, but they think that the Norifumi Suzuki couldn't have gotten away with as much like exploitation and stuff, but also not as much like discussion of religion and stuff if it was a religion that more people followed in Japan, but because it had like that extra layer of being, like there are Catholics in Japan, but it's definitely nowhere near as much as, Buddhism or whatever. Which I thought was an interesting way to say like, oh, like it's kind of approaching it from like a different lens. And also he mentioned that Nagasaki actually is kind of like the biggest Catholic place in Japan. Like there's a lot of Catholic churches and Christian churches there. So there actually is more of a connection to it than just they needed an extra weird layer for their villain.
That's interesting. So yeah, maybe that is the case then, that it's kind of this association. Like he's kind of collecting like, well, what are nun things? What are Catholic things? And Nagasaki is just on that list. And he's kind of like, well, this is what I think of when I think about Nagasaki, that's really interesting. Yeah, the thing about Suzuki is that he's a filmmaker who like tends to attack people in position of authority in his movies. The Truck Rascals movies, like cops are the big target, traffic cops specifically, and that lynch law classroom isn't that one the one that ends with this basically big school riot where they're like tearing down the school. Yeah, and so the kind of education system is being attacked in that one. That there's the Great Chase. There's the politicians are kind of at the root of all the bad guys and all that stuff. And so I do think that that's really interesting that this is his chance to kind of take on religion, but he has to kind of have it at an arm's length a little bit by taking on like a Western religion.
Mm-hmm. My co-host of Swim Fans, Craig Neeson, on our episode on Terrifying Girls High School Lynch Law Classroom, hit a great point when he sort of like was analyzing like the villains in the movie, and he was, and that the movie's like, how are we going to punish them? By fucking them. Like that'll show them, like, and how kind of like how that's not really a critique, but I do think it holds up better in here, even though the plan at the end of this one is I'm going to get back at him by fucking him, thus making him commit incest or whatever. But yeah, definitely an anti-authoritarian streak though.
Yeah, for sure. And yeah, that's School of the Beast, or School of the Holy Beast. Yeah, this was I enjoyed this one. It's real weird. But I kind of want to dive into some other stuff because it actually wasn't as weird as I was prepared for. So I don't want to go too far in that direction, but I think I want to dive into stuff. And yeah, the Truck Rascals, Joey talks about it so much that I gotta dive into it at some point.
I feel like I'm overdue.
Those movies are really fun.
Whenever we were talking about what movie you want to do for this, we floated that, and I said that it would probably just be me and Jen quietly listening to Joey for an hour. So
damn. I would try not to. I want to hear your thoughts about
it. There's plenty of episodes of the main show where it's basically me and Marty listening to Carlos's intense book report on the movie. Which I love. Like I'm not trying to diss Carlos. I know you're listening to this, Carlos. Not trying to diss you.
Yeah.
But yeah, this was fun. But we kind of bounced it around a little bit.
When we did the April Fool's episode of Heroes 3, and I had to like prepare a Carlos segment, it was like more work than I put into like 5 episodes of Swim Fans just to like get like a report going. Like even as a joke, it was like, because it like wasn't nearly as intense as like what he does. But like, no, mad respect for Carlos for doing that.
Norifumi Suzuki's, the kind of state of his films are in a weird spot right now where for quite a few years, we didn't really know why, but it had been stated, somewhere by a Blu-ray licensor that all of his movies were just off the table for international license. And it seemed to be like there's maybe a problem with like legal problems within his estate or something like that. But pretty recently, his movies have started to come out internationally. And it looked like this movie was being teased by, I think, Mondo Macabra. It's one of those like Blu-ray boutique publishers. But they said that this one is still, unfortunately, off the table for some reason. So for the time being, unfortunately, there's no beautiful boutique Blu-ray of this around in the English-speaking world. And that is unfortunately the same it can be said about the Truck Rascals movies, and that's a 10-film series. So that might just be that nobody's really willing to take on such a long series that's pretty niche. But I don't know, The Great Chase just came out on Blu-ray pretty recently, and that movie rules. And all those
that was wild to see because that was one we did a handful of years ago, and whenever I found out, oh, that one's making it, huh?
Yeah, that's one of my favorites of his. It's just really fun. It still has an exploitation streak through it. It has a guy dressed in a bear suit having his way with a lady.
It sure does.
But yeah, and but it's a fun one. It's a Etsuko Shihome movie.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I love that you can tell Etsuko Shihome was like, absolutely not. I'm not going to get naked. I'm not even going to be slightly sexualized in this movie, despite it being all around it.
Yeah, she almost never is. She gets some rough treatment in some Sonny Chiba movies, in like her earlier films, like the Street Fighter movies.
Yeah. Let's say the Street Fighter, she was
Yeah,
roughed up pretty bad.
and a little bit in 13 Steps with Maki, which is kind of like a girl gang movie that she stars in. But she's usually, she's never, no nudity, usually not attacked or anything like that. She's usually the one in charge, in control of the situation because of her karate skills.
Well, bringing back to School of the Holy Beast, are there any other final thoughts?
Yeah, just I think this movie is really cool. I wasn't sure what I was going to think coming back to it, because I think the first time I saw it, I was like, this is neat. It's interesting. I see the like transgressions as a kind of like interesting thing, but coming back to it years later, I enjoyed it a lot more this time. I thought it was just really visually striking and plays around with, basically whatever you can do in the nunsploitation genre in a way that I thought was interesting.
Yeah, I really loved it. I thought that like it was clear, like the plot isn't like that interesting, but like it's shot with so much I don't want to use the word lust, but like it's very it's shot like they care about the sex parts. And like that goes a long way in a movie like this, where you can tell they're like getting creative with it. And I was happy to finally watch it. The parts where I wasn't as interested in the story it's a really breezy movie, so those don't really slow it down that much before you kind of like get back into some crazy shit.
Yeah, it moves pretty well because for the most part, it's just kind of jumping from scene to scene of like weird scenarios, and then it kind of gets plot heavy in the second half of the movie, but at that point, it's pretty propulsive.
Yeah. Oh, I had a question. So you said this has never gotten like a Blu-ray release, but there is this like 1080i version of it out there, which is what I watched, with like hard French subtitles. Did it like get approved for release there?
Maybe. I don't know. I was wondering the same thing. Which might give an idea.
That was a
watched.
bizarre thing in those DVD extras that I watched. It would occasionally, like, obviously they were being interviewed in Japanese and had English subtitles, but whenever it showed clips from the movie, it was a French dub.
C'est un souvenir de famille. Elle était à ma mère.
Alors c'est bien toi.
C'est juste. Shinohara Michiko était ma mère.
Which
Interesting.
was just bizarre. So I'm not really sure how that works, but that's the joys of procuring movies on the internet.
Yeah.
So if any French listeners that are into it, let us know. Let's email it. Here's the number 3 podcast@gmail.com. I think that'll bring us to the end, but I do want to give you guys a chance to plug. Thank you guys both, first off, for joining. This is something that I love, and I'm so glad that we can share. That was a thing we were talking about a lot for whenever we came back from our normal break, was to have lots of guests on, because I feel like we hadn't in a hot second. So I'm glad that we got to get 2 at once. I'm sure we'll probably ask you folks on again in the near future.
Please.
But Joey, we'll go to you first. Do you have anything to plug or anything you'd like people to follow you on or anything like that?
Sure. Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me on. I hope to come back sometime. They can follow me at Joey Weiser on Blue Sky or Joey Weiser Comics on Instagram. I feel kind of weird plugging my graphic novels in this podcast because they're kids' books, and this is a more salty affair that we're talking about. But I do, young readers, fantasy adventure graphic novels. You can check that stuff out. And if you're interested in Japanese film, I'm involved with a Japanese film club called Pachinko Pop Cinema, and there's a Letterboxd account that you can follow for reviews of Japanese film that's involved with that too.
Nice. And Jennifer, would you like to plug anything?
Yeah, you can follow me on Blue Sky Diatron5.swimfanspod.com. I'm on Letterboxd Diatron. You can catch my show, Swim Fans. It's another movie podcast. We're gearing up for Oscar season, so if you wanna,
that's right.
if you wanna hear my thoughts about Hamnet or Train Dreams,
Do I?
swimfanspod.com.
Yeah, go listen to Swim Fans.
Thank you for having me on. I love this show.
Thank you. I love Swim Fans. I should be on
Aw.
that again too.
You should.
There was a streak where I was on there I was on there a bunch, so we should do that again.
Please.
Yeah, and if you like this show, then you can follow us at Heroes Three Podcast on all of your social medias of choice, particularly Blue Sky and Instagram. And I'm sure we will be back with another one in the near future. And we're going to try to look at some animation. We've talked about that for a minute, so something fun. But anyways, thank you for joining us for this kind of weird episode. So hope things get better.
Yeah,
Bye.
stay safe out there, Marty.